Whoa! Sab's Shed! Sab's Shed.
Was it working? Ha ha! Ha! Hello! Hello, Cthulhu lovers and Polaris lovers. Just a quick little session on the camera car, just to show you a couple of things that I've got. Here we are. We have this shirt that I thought might be pretty good for the main character in Polaris. It's a, what do you call it? It's one of these check shirts that is blue at this present time, but I'm going to try and dye it a little bit with this pewter grey colour dye. So that's something. I think grey or grey blue is going to be the colour of this particular show. I always like to think of things in terms of colour, and colour having its own sense of movement and presence and interesting things like that, perhaps. Okay, the other thing I've got here is this wonderful item, I think it is, that I bought. It cost a bit of money, but I think it's one of those key pieces for costume. It's a set of 1920s vintage-esque dungarees. Okay, they're Levi ones, so they are a bit pricey. I always say that my characters are better dressed than me. I mean, it's true, isn't it? Anyway, there we have a nice key piece here, which I'm going to distress and make all worn and other things like that. And then I'm going to make this blue check shirt, wool shirt, a little bit greyer because it's a little bit too bright, so I'm going to dull it down basically. And that's essentially what I'm going to do there. The other thing is I found this is something I thought I'd lost, but I've got this old sort of semi-wool blanket. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dye this grey as well, that same pewter grey, because I think that this, as it stands at the moment, I think a blanket might feature quite prominently. I don't know, I've just got a feeling about it, and I've got some ideas of how that might function. Anyway, just a quick insert to see how we get on. So I'll show you how this dyeing comes out in a later stage. All right, and we're on. Hello, Cthulhu Polaris lovers. Here we are back in the shed after a long absence, and we'll see what we're going to do about dyeing this here shirt. First of all, I've got, there's some people here you should meet. That's my friend Strindberg, the shed cat, and this is Arcacia, the sleeping shed cat, because she's made out of acacia wood, and that is a cup of tea. Essential ingredients for prop costume making. So first of all, what we've got here is a bowl on some scales, which I'll just zero tear. And for dyeing, we need to, as per instructions, we need to get some salt. We need to add 250 grams of salt. Let's see if we can get it in. Come on. Here it comes. How interesting, huh? Now the salt, I think, helps to stabilise the colour so it doesn't wash out or come out. Now we're getting near to 250. That'll do. Okay, that's good enough for jazz. The next stage is to mix that into some warm water. Okay, let's do some dyeing. Well, what I've got here is 6 litres of warm water, 500 mils of warm water, the 250 grams of salt and some stirring devices, and dye itself. So first of all, I'm going to dissolve the dye as per instructions in the 500 mils of warm water. In that goes. Okay. And then we're going to put the salt into the 6 litres of warm water. In that goes. Okay. I've always wanted to do a cookery show. I don't think I'd want to eat this though. There you go, that's all the salt dissolved in there. And then you give this a good stir as well. Make sure it's all stirred, all dissolved in the 500 mils. Okay, I think that's probably right. And then what you do is you take one and you add to other. Here it goes. Thus. Give it another stir. Good old stir. Oh, I do like to stir. Do you like to mull? Oh, not too much though. It inflames you. 10 elder stars for anyone who gets that reference. Right, there we are, that's that. Now the next thing to do is to take my shirt and to add it into the dye. There's no going back now. I've got my gloves on, as you can see. And pop him in there. And then stir. Go stir crazy. Basically keep stirring. Okay. We'll see you on the other side and see how this fella comes out. Round and round and round through the void. Vertagen. Ah, there you are. Hello again. Of course, when you start making things, you do sketches and things like this. You have ideas in your head. But then as you go, you have other little ideas, and you start to think, well, you know, it's all from the perspective of character. You think, well, what does this person do? You know, what objects do they have in their pockets? And adornments and all sorts of things. Interesting kind of weird stuff that we all have. So I got to thinking who this guy was, who lives in a swamp, and I just wondered, I found this little bit of driftwood years ago, and I thought, well, I think I'm going to try and make a little necklace for him. So I'm going to make one. It won't take very long. I've got a few bits and pieces, and if I don't use it, no, I'm done. But I think it might add to his particular flavour. So we'll see how it goes on. Okay. Off we go again.
Hey! Look what I've just found. Look! In the shed. It's been sitting there for years. An old wooden crocodile. Now why is this useful?
I just had a mad thought, you know, thinking about the character again, our hero, the man, who lives in a swamp in Louisiana. What's he doing in there? What's his job? You know, how does he eat? How does he survive? Well, maybe he's a gator hunter, you know, something like that. Just an idea, just floating ideas at the moment. And maybe he'd have gator artifacts in his little shack, I don't know.
And I just wondered maybe he could have carved this out of wood or something, you know.
So the old winter evenings might be more, you know, interesting. Anyway, just a thought. What I've got here is a few things to make that necklace. I've sort of half stabilised this bit of wood with a bit of glue, varnishing it really cheap man style. I've got my ring that's going to go through a hole I've drilled, which I have roughened up and provided a key for the paint to stick on, because I'm going to make it all deteriorated. And I decided I'm going to do that in a green base, and then I'm going to make a wash out of this black with a bit of white spirit. Hello, me again. I've now finished doing the shirt, which I dyed a sort of pewter grey, it's called, to try and dumb it down a little bit to being more keeping with the sort of theme of the show. And this is what we've got here. So if you remember, this check shirt was white and blue, sort of quite bright colour, and now the dye, which we didn't leave for the whole course of the dye, has just taken it down a few tones, so it's a much more earthy, sort of lowered idea, if you like. It's got that kind of grittiness that I'm looking for. And I've also started to, as you can see, these buttons are the regular plastic buttons. I don't know if you can see, but they are. They're white plastic buttons. And what I've started to do is mask them off, and I'm going to paint them a sort of aluminium colour, which I've done with that one. You might not be able to see, as opposed to that one. They may not look very good in this light. But I'm going to, once I've finished painting them an aluminium colour, I'm going to again use the black wash to dirty them down a bit. And then, after I've put a couple of rips in the shirt sleeves and maybe gone over it with some sandpaper, some charcoal and some fuller's earth, we should have a nice distressed work shirt that should be in keeping with our character. As I said before, everything is a character. this shirt is a character because it belongs to a person. You know, they've lived together for a long time, so that's why all this effort's going into getting this just right. So here we see the buttons of the shirt that I've just painted a silvery colour, basically just what I had. You can see that they're a little bit too bright. There's the context of the whole thing. Lighting's not great, but there we go. But now what I'm going to do is put a black wash on them, which I've just mixed up over here, which is just a thin down black, and we'll see if we can dull down these buttons a bit to make it more lived in. Okay, see you on the other side. Okay, so here we are back again, back at the buttons, and I don't know if you can see, they have been darkened down a bit with the wash that I did. And just as a comparison, there's the original, well, there's another one, silver colour. Okay, and the last thing I want to do now is give the shirt a little bit of a dust over with Fuller's Earth to really sort of dirty it down, make it really lived in, maybe put a rip in it, and I'll show you the end result in a few moments. Vertagen!
Hello Polaris lovers, yee. I'm moving on now to the dungarees that I bought.
Here they are, right there. And as you can see, they've had a wash. I did try to pre-dye them a bit, but that didn't work so well. But what I've got to do now is rough them up a bit to make them look worn. So on the key areas, the back side, the back of the knees, the front of the knees, and front of the thighs, I'm going to rough up a little bit. I've got a selection of wire brushes, some sandpaper, and then I'm going to add some other things like Fuller's Earth, maybe a bit of charcoal, just to dirty it up a little bit. Don't go mad with all this kind of stuff, do a little bit at a time. Let's see how this one gets on, okay? This is actually a really painful job to do, but nevertheless it will make a little bit of difference. Let's see. Okay, so here are the dungarees. Now on this side, the right hand side, I've not really started, I've done a little bit, but that's the sort of before shot, and then this on this side is the after shot. So if I pull back, you can kind of, hopefully you can see a little bit of a difference. So this should be a man who, these dungarees on the left hand side hopefully belong to a man who lives in a swamp. Maybe he's a gator hunter, maybe he's been buried, you know, by these strange dream creatures who mock him. I don't know yet, but he certainly lives in a swamp now. So I've done that leg on the back, and I haven't done that leg much at all yet. So just to give you a quick comparison, and I've used, as I say, Fuller's Earth, which is this fine granular stuff, which makes things look muddy and dusty. Homemade charcoal, which is in there. Still a bit of sandpaper. 2 grades of what are these called? Wire brushes, and a pair of scissors, that kind of thing. And and of course, the essential cup of tea. Okay, tune in next time and I'll show you the finished articles, I think.
Hello Polaris lovers. Well, I've got here the almost finished blanket, and here it is, right down here. You can see the grey dye has worked quite well. So we've got a rather nicely worn looking old blanket that may have lived in an old shack somewhere. But there's one more thing that I have to do. I've got my little craft knife here. Now, quite a few years ago, I remember seeing a show, a professional show, and it was a great show. It was I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of the Greek tragedies. But it was very good. But there was a moment on stage where there was a character that was wrapped up in some sort of cloth, and it was kind of interesting because although I was really into the story, when I was looking at this, my eyes suddenly fell upon this cloth that was covering one of the actors, And what I could see, where my eye was drawn to, was a label. It was a label, and the label said, dry clean only, right? And it completely took me out of any particular scene. And that would have been great if it was a sort of Brechtian or something that wasn't concerned with you being transported into some kind of imaginary world, that there was an important element of distance there. But this was not the case. So suddenly I wasn't in ancient Greece or wherever it was, and I wasn't in the characters' lives. I was just looking at this dry clean only label. So whenever you're doing anything like this, look at the details in shirts, in props, in anything that you bring. Take all the labels out, because these little things really do matter. You know, it's the detail of the illusionist, right? You're creating, in this type of work anyway, a certain amount of diegesis, you know, of reality. So have a look. Now this blanket, if I can find it, does have a label. There it is. It's got a label there. So, I mean, this doesn't look too bad. It doesn't say dry clean or anything like that, but nevertheless, I'm going to cut it off so there's no distractions. So the action is purely going to be on what's around this object, not something that draws the attention away from something else. Just a little thing, but important nevertheless. So I'll go and cut that out. See you in a little while. Back again, once more, and I have got the costume that I've been working on in the shed. And it's all done, I think. Certainly enough for doing the initial promo photos, which is the next big job to do. So let's have a look at it, see if all the dyeing and the distressing and everything else has come together to make to start the physical side of making character anyway. Here we go, let's have a look. There we go. These are the dungarees that I made, and see they're all pretty nasty. It's all nasty. I said they would be, and I think they pretty much are. This is a guy, remember, who lives in a swamp. So that's what we've got. There's our shirt that we've dyed and I've distressed a little bit. A few rips here and there, and the blankets underneath. And also we've got the necklace that I put together from a bit of driftwood that I found on Brighton Beach years and years ago. And I think it might have come from the pier that burnt down. Just a little fragment, who knows. But I put a little runic, I've done a bit of inscribing, and I put a little rune there, a Nordic rune, because I think there's a Nordic connection with this story, and perhaps a Native American one as well, I'm not sure yet, but certainly Nordic. And there's a little rune here which I researched, and that means protection in a Nordic script, or also the giant. So there are kind of interesting links there, all these kind of myths I want to bring into this story. The giant, that makes me interested as well. Maybe the Zobnians were the giants. Is there a connection with, I don't know, Nephilim and all that sort of stuff? Who knows? But just to finish it off, I've got my my 1920s-esque boots, which I have used before, but they work very well. And if you want to see how I altered those, they're in a video from the shed back in the days when I did the temple, the story, the Lovecraftian story about the World War I German U-boat and Lieutenant Commander Altberg, which you can get the audio version of if you go to the shop on my webpage, www.michaelsabbaton.com. I'll send you a CD, very cheap. And the Call of Cthulhu, by the way. Anyway, I'll stop plugging. Here is the final costume, and I think it's come out quite well. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And the next job in this department is to make a few more personal props. I've got a few ideas. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this costume workshop. See you next time on SAB'S Shed.
Whoa! SAB'S Shed! SAB'S Shed.